Here's 12 Sports.
Welcome to Double OT Super Bowl edition with Maury Hirschgord. I'm Yanni Karakis. Part 2 of our 2-week build-up for the big game. A lot to get to. It's taping this on a Wednesday, so what, 4 days away?
Couple days out, yeah.
Exciting. All right, Bucs Chiefs. This is a big one. We start with this. Whose legacy, who is able to make a bigger impact on their legacy? Patrick Mahomes, who already has one, can go for back-to-back Super Bowls, or Tom Brady, who's in his 10th, going for a 7th and 1st outside of New England?
So I know there's a lot of conversation about it being close. Brady to win his 7th, Mahomes to, he could then potentially surpass Brady if he beats him head-to-head and then rips off and wins 6 or 7. But I think it's Tom Brady for the sole reason of, we don't know if the dynasty will ever continue for the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. First of all, it isn't even a dynasty, so let me not even call it that.
Yeah.
But we don't know if he'll ever win 5 or 6 or 7. Brady's in the position right now to A, win the most Super Bowl championships ever, B, potentially become the greatest American athlete ever with this win and potentially another one.
Jordan?
Over Jordan. So I think more is up for grabs for Brady. He can become the best NFL player there ever was with a win. And then you talk about the greatest athlete in American history. So I think there's more on the table because the proof is in the pudding. He already has 6. He's been to 10. We're guessing in the future, Mahomes can get to 8. Mahomes can get to 9. But like we saw with Russell Wilson and the Seahawks, there's never a guarantee you're going to be back.
Malcolm Butler interception away from them having 2. Instead, the Patriots at the time got their 4th. I think this is close, but for many of the reasons you just stated, I think it's Brady. Because, all right, his legacy is already secure. He's established as the GOAT in NFL history. But to win one outside of New England without Belichick and to do it in year 1 with a new team, I think it's just the cherry on top of his already stellar resume. And if he loses, it's not a knock on his legacy. I think it's the same thing with Patrick Mahomes. If he wins, all right, you beat Brady, you get 2, you get back-to-back. We assume more to follow. But I think if he loses 2, right now Brady's resume says 6 in the win column, 3 in the loss column. I think eventually Mahomes will end up losing a Super Bowl at some point because I think he'll get to so many. But those in the camp of it's bigger than Mahomes, like you mentioned the Seattle, like Joe Montana, the 80s were a juggernaut, 49ers in the 80s. He only won 4 and got to 4. If you include Steve Young, together they win 5 over a 15-year span. So even if the Chiefs, I don't know, win 4 or 5, it's still not 6. I think Brady has put the bar so above that where Mahomes can achieve, it's going to be tough because of injuries and the salary cap and, I don't know, maybe the Bills are their contemporary. And the other thing is, in terms of head-to-head, if Mahomes beats Brady, I think it's cool. It's cooler if Brady beats Mahomes because Mahomes is at his peak and Brady is not. Like Brady and Manning came into the league within a year or 2 apart. They were contemporaries. Everyone knows now that Brady's on the back 9 and Mahomes is really just starting out. So I'll say Brady, but I think it's close, and I don't think either's legacy is hurt. Neither of them is going for their first or needs to get a monkey off their back, so to speak. So sort of a win-win for both guys. But definitely cool that these guys are going at it.
2 more things. One, can Mahomes ever be better than Brady at the end of his career if he doesn't beat Brady? If this is the only time they match up head-to-head?
Yeah, I think
what would he then have to do? If Tom Brady gets his 7th, does Mahomes have to win 9 and go to 12? Is it strictly a numbers thing?
I think sort of like LeBron v. Jordan. I think you'll be able to make the argument that Mahomes was a better talent than Brady.
Brady's been hearing that from Rodgers.
Yeah, from Rodgers. But from a resume perspective, I think you have to at least tie him, which is 6. Like if he ties him, has the records, and is a more compelling athlete, then I think he beats him.
Sure.
But he's going to have to lose. If he doesn't lose any, that goes back to the LeBron-Jordan thing. Jordan was 6-0.
Yeah.
LeBron is, 4-6, been to 10, something like that?
So, yeah.
He's lost more than he's won.
Yes.
But I don't actually put too much stock in the head-to-head matchup, only because they're at different points in their careers. It's cool, but I don't think it'll define them in 20 years if we're sitting here talking about who is better about the one Super Bowl. But if Brady plays 2 or 3 more years, and this isn't the official ending,
he could win another.
Then maybe this matchup. What if they play again next year
It'd be
or
great.
in 2 years?
It'd be even better.
Then we'll start comparing those.
For sure. And knowing that we never got LeBron versus Jordan head to head, I think it's good that we get Brady Mahomes, because then there's just something to base off of. There's a tiebreaker in the scenario 15 years down the line.
Sure.
If both have 5 or both have 6 or whatever the case may be, both have 7. But
and everyone's going to be biased towards the era they grew up in. I think Tiger is the greatest golfer ever because I never saw Jack Nicklaus. I think.
Sure.
I'm still in the Jordan camp,
right,
but I'm willing to amend that depending on how much more LeBron does.
I'm in the LeBron camp.
You are?
Yeah.
Yeah, see, you're younger than me. All right, keys to this game. Right now, the Chiefs are 3.5-point favorites. I'll start. I think, obviously, turnovers, like any game, are huge. I think Tampa has done such a good job of turning the other team over and giving Tom Brady and his offense short fields that they've capitalized. So I think turnovers is huge. And I think specifically from a Bucs perspective, they need to be aggressive. You can't beat the Chiefs kicking field goals. We saw that with Buffalo. I think what they did at the end of the half in Green Bay was huge. Hey, let's not settle for a field goal. Let's go for a touchdown. I think they're going to have to be aggressive. Bruce Arians has that in their blood. They have the quarterback to be able to do that. So I think those are keys for a Bucs win. The Chiefs, we know they're never out of it. So it's easy to say, hey, get up early, Bucs, but that doesn't matter. So I think the Chiefs, on the other side, as long as they don't turn it over and they don't give up big plays, I think they should win because they just have more talent. So I think the Bucs, I don't want to say if they play a perfect game, but they have to play better to win. The Chiefs can have their B game and still win.
At times they've looked bored, turned it on, and then have run teams out of the building. Yeah, on top of no turnovers, they have to continue to establish the run, I think, with Leonard Fournette. And then my big one is, I think the lucky number is 2 field goals for the Chiefs. So if the Chiefs, and that's in the red zone. So if the Chiefs are in the red zone, they need to hold them twice there to save about a touchdown to keep them in it. And then for Kansas City, it's just don't let up. No lead is insurmountable for Brady. Obviously, we know that. So I think, from start to finish, if the Chiefs play their style of offense for 60 minutes, I don't think anybody can touch them in the league. It doesn't matter how good, how clutch Tom Brady is. I just think the defense on the other side can't slow down the Chiefs for that long.
If to take a page out of Bill Belichick's, if you can take out one thing of the Chiefs, if they can, we saw what Tyreek Hill did in the first half last game. You can let Kelsey get his 15, 16, 17-yard catches, maybe even get in the end zone. But if you can prevent Hill from going off, especially those chunk yard plays, I think they can handle everything else. Just don't let Hill kill you. But easier said than done.
The scoring drives in 90 seconds or 2 minutes, whether it's to match Tampa Bay or to then double up if Tampa Bay gets a turnover. Those are the killers. So at least you got to have them earn it. 4 or 5 minute drives for Kansas City. And then hopefully you keep them to 3 a couple times.
All right, prediction time. Bucs and Chiefs. Although I had the Super Bowl matchup, I picked the Packers last week. I was wrong. You had the Bucs.
I had the Bucs.
And you had the Chiefs. So you were 2-0 last week. I was 1-1. And I keep going back and forth on this. I'll let you start.
Yeah, I said you can't bet against Tom Brady last week, but I think you have to go against him this week. I just think the Chiefs are too good. I think the offense is too good, like I just mentioned. I don't think a defense can slow down Kansas City enough if they're at the top of their game for a full 60 minutes. And as of right now, it's a 3.5-point spread on Wednesday, and I see the Chiefs covering fairly easily, 33-27. I think they'll be up around 10 points in the fourth quarter. Brady will lead a drive back. They'll make it a one-score game. Whether the defense doesn't get a stop or if Tampa Bay maybe gets the ball back, not enough time. I think it'll be close in the end. I just think Kansas City covers.
Yeah, as I said when we were talking about keys to the game initially, I think too many things have to go the Bucs' way for them to win. They would need some not only turnovers but maybe a couple fluky plays. They would need Brady to play a near perfect game. Their defense will have to play as well as they did last week. Keep in mind the Bills are the hottest team in the NFL and the Chiefs ran them out of the building.
Yes.
So when you're comparing, it's all right, the Chiefs got bored end of the year. How good are they? And then once they see a true competitor in the Bills, they run them out of the building. I think that shows you how good the Chiefs are. Both tackles are out, right?
Yeah.
Both tackles are out. I don't feel great about that. I wanted to pick. I keep going back and forth. I wanted to pick the Bucs. I think Brady will have a good game. Maybe have a turnover or two, but I'm picking the Chiefs too. 34-30. That is what my head tells me. I guess my heart It'd be romantic to say Brady leads them to a compromise
For sure.
win this
Head
thing.
Brady. Head Mahomes, heart Brady. At least just for the fact of conversation.
But it's funny. I'd have to go back and look. I don't think they've probably been an underdog. Brady's been a Super Bowl underdog since the first one against the Rams. Maybe Seattle. I think that might have been a pick'em or a 1-point game. That was really even. They were favored versus Atlanta, favored versus the Rams. I think favored versus the Eagles the first time and the second time, and then the Panthers. So I'll have to check on that. All right. Some non-football Super Bowl things. Let's start with the football one. You're an Eagles fan. You've watched this game for a long time. Outside of the Eagles, what are your favorite Super Bowl memories?
So I really only can go back to around the year 2000.
Okay.
But I would say, the Malcolm Butler interception is up there. I was a freshman in college up in New England at Quinnipiac in Connecticut. So that year, I think the Red Sox had won the World Series that fall.
They won 13, so the previous fall,
So we had seen a bunch of parades and a bunch of chaos on campus. That one's crazy, just watching it with a bunch of guys that are Patriot fans. And me at the time not really understanding the dynasty and understanding everything from now being here for a few years. So I would say the Malcolm Butler interception was probably the highlight of the 20-year Super Bowl run that now I can remember.
What about the Eagles?
The Eagles for sure. I thought we said we put the Eagles on the back burner. I said outside of the Eagles.
No, just
Eagles
I knew that would be your number one.
For sure. After that, I think the Malcolm Butler play was up
so
there.
wild.
Yeah, obviously hate the Giants, so I can't pick even the two Giants wins over the Patriots, even though technically it was the lesser of two evils, and I hated the Patriots more than the Giants and Brady. But you got to go with the play in Malcolm Butler.
So my first, I go back, probably my first were the early 90s Super Bowl. I remember the Cowboys Super Bowl wins with Aikman and Emmett and those guys in the early 90s. First one as a fan was the Pats in 96 when they played Favre and the Packers. That was wild because they weren't really supposed to get there. So that was, and as a fan, at the time, I guess I was 12, that was the first time one of my teams had gotten to the championship round. Yeah. So that was thrilling for me. They lost, but it was close. Terry Glenn had a big catch. Prior to the Desmond Howard returns, I thought the Pats had a chance. The first win, 0-1, obviously I watched it with my 3 high school buddies. We watched every game together that season. That was my fondest memory as a fan because it was the first one. Yeah. And that in 0-1 was the first championship we had in New England. I had as a fan. We didn't know the Red Sox, Bruins, Celtics, Pats were going to go on a huge run there. So at that time, it was like I finally won a championship as a fan. And just the improbability of being double-digit underdogs, beating the Rams on a game-winning field goal. Covering one, it's the Malcolm Butler Seahawks one because of the improbability of that happening. And people sometimes forget that Curse, what was his first name? The receiver. He had an acrobatic circus catch
to set them up.
That was reminiscent and it would have gone down sort of as the David Tyree, Rodney Harrison helmet catch had the Seahawks won. And at that moment, you thought sort of the Pats were snake bitten and they would have lost. That would have been their 3rd straight Super Bowl loss after winning 3 in a row.
Sure.
And at that point, it had been 10 years since their 0-4 win, so it sort of felt like, are they ever going to win one? So that was my favorite one to cover as a fan. But other ones, I'm trying to think of. The Pats have had a lot of the best ones.
Yeah.
I feel like I've worked every single one since I've been in this business. But the 28-3 obviously is just wild because doing a post-game show, I had to prepare for. I had to make a decision at some point. Are they going to win or lose?
Sure.
Because we have to go into the post-game, get sound, or if they win, we're going on the field. Right. So we had set up in the post-game room. And I was watching the game no longer with my own eyes in the stadium, but on a TV in the post-game room, at which point they started to come back. I remember seeing the juggling Edelman catch and being like, wow, they may actually win this thing. At which point Andy Piskowski and I went to the corridor and then started waiting to get on the field. And I actually remember watching the final plays of that game, standing next to Randy Moss, who was about to go on the field for ESPN, thinking like, wow, Randy Moss never won one of these, and here he is in the media watching it. I wonder what's going through his mind. So that was wild too.
Very cool.
All right, Sunday we'll finish Pat's best.
Pats beat Eagles, Jacksonville.
Yeah, Mike
That was yours,
Monaco
Mike?
covered that one.
That's Mike's favorite.
Rodney Harrison received in that one.
Terrell Owens was 70% that game. that hurt us big
Unbelievable
time.
game by
playing
Terrell.
on like a
Terrell
broken
Owens.
ankle.
He had like 12 for 160 or something.
Yeah, it was absurd.
All right, before we go, favorite Super Bowl Sunday food.
Oh, wow.
You don't have to pick one thing.
Do you have something?
All right, I like the chili to be like the backbone of my day of eating. Couple bowls of that, and not only I want the chili, but I want the fixings there. I want the diced onions. I want sour cream, cheese,
Avocado?
avocado throw in there,
Okay.
wings, nachos, maybe
Yep.
some pigs in a blanket.
Okay.
What about you?
Yeah. All of that.
All those things. Dips,
All of that. I'm a big dip guy, yeah.
buff chick, or like a traditional Mexican dip.
Buff chick's good. Yeah, we'll go buff chick.
Buff chick.
Yeah.
Spinach artichoke.
Spinach art. I'm game for anything.
Pizza.
If there's food in front of me and I didn't have to make it.
Are you rationing out your appetite, or are you just like, hey, I'm gonna eat lunch and dinner, or are you just eating from like 2 p.m. to midnight?
Eating. No, I think, and that's how I pretty much approach every Sunday. Is like, okay, sure, like first meal's around 10, 11, but then Super Bowl Sunday you start eating around 3, and
I know.
you really don't stop until you go to bed.
I would like a barbecue meatball, like little mini meatballs and like a barbecue sauce.
Okay. I'm a fondue guy too. I like fondue.
Yeah. Steve's really interested.
cheese
over there.
fondue.
Steve, you want to add anything in there? Meatballs, yeah.
Yeah.
I said wings, pigs in a blanket, pizza, obviously.
Yeah.
All right. I guess we'll recap what happens in this game next week, but that is our Super Bowl edition of Double OT. Thanks so much for watching. You can watch the game, of course, Sunday, 6:30 on WPRI 12.